I hope everyone is doing well and being healthy. I mean, we're doing well here. I mean, it is, I don't know how to answer. How are we doing in Palestine? Things are okay, I guess. I mean, things are as usual, terrible. It's a very difficult way to say it. We personally, I mean, in Jerusalem and the West Bank, yes, there is violence and there are some multiple incidents of violence, but nothing compared to Gaza. And Gaza is just like an hour or an hour and a half drive from Palestine, from Jerusalem. So it's a very close distance, yet so much is taking place in Gaza. Like many people around the world, we're very much worried on the situation, especially with in Rafah. Rafah is a small piece of land that used to be pre October 7th. It used to be less home for 300,000 people, and it was already packed. Today, there's close to 1.5 million people living in that area. So it's any form of military operations or attacks would result with triple the numbers of deaths that were already horrific in other parts of Gaza. And I don't know what we can all do, it's everybody's trying their best to push for ceasefire or for some common sense, but people are not able to make people are not able to make things happen. So it's nice to see some new faces and also many familiar faces. I hope you're all doing well. Yes, so Ubay is joining us soon, just helping him to log in. We started to send a different form of the newsletter. I hope you liked. So instead of sending, for many of you who are already on the Sabil Wave of Prayer Thursday service and Kumi sessions, so that would be like one email for all. We're trying it. I hope that its people do not find it easy to use and helpful. Marhaba Ubay. Hi
Hello.
Ubay.
How are you?
I am good. How are you?
I'm good. Sorry for the delay.
Yeah, I hope that everything is okay and you're
Yeah.
doing well.
Yes, of course. Just give me 1 second to open the file. Can I have a share screen?
Yeah. Can we make Ubay maybe co-host, because I think he has prepared the presentation to us. Yeah. Thank you, Lily. We can see only a portion of your face, Ubay.
Oh, okay. Just
Is
1
this
second.
intentional or?
No. Let me just organize it. Is this better?
Yes, that's better, Ubay.
Okay. Let me just push it.
Yes. Nice background.
Thank you.
We're used to people with backgrounds that are either, it's showing off, Bethlehem, Jerusalem, or like the Palestinian cities, or actually things that are related to the situation. We haven't
Oh,
seen this background before.
this is a green background.
It's very green, yes.
Yeah, it's agriculture. I like agriculture. I can change it if you like something.
No, keep it. No, it's for freedom of choice.
Okay. Let me just.
I'm waiting for a grasshopper to jump out of the grass.
Okay.
I'd like to introduce to start with a friend. I'm proud to say that Ubay is a friend of mine. Ubay is a wonderful person, human rights activist, works and runs an organization called Bisan, a very well-respected organization here in Palestine, and is part of the number of the 6 or 7 organizations that are under attack by Israel, including Al-Haq, Al-Damir, and others. Ubay is from a small village to the north. It's one of my favorite villages, and actually, and has lots of historical significance. It's a small village called Abud, to the north of Ramallah. It was actually on the route of between Jerusalem and Jaffa. So many people, and it was a big center for many people. For many people, and pilgrims must have passed by Abud. And I don't know, it's historically there used to be a monastery with a very big tower. And there was always fire on this tower of the monastery. Now it has become a village, and it used to be like to give direction for pilgrims traveling all the way from Jaffa to Jerusalem, or from Jerusalem to Jaffa, and people would stop there and have meals in that area. But that's a different topic. We're happy. We keep the tradition of speakers introducing themselves. Could you please briefly introduce who you are, Bisan, Bisan as an organization, and a little bit about Ubay?
Well, thank you, Omar. You're very kind. And actually, just one correction of the information. My grandmother is from Abud, and my grandfather is from Ain Arik. So it's quite an interesting story. I wanted to introduce my organization. Bisan Center is a research think tank and an activist organization. We've been established back in 1989. We've been working ever since on producing critical research, including research on socioeconomic rights of the Palestinian people. We are proud to say that we are aligned with the poor and marginalized in the Palestinian society. And my personal background, I'm an economist. I studied both my bachelor's and master's degree at Birzeit University. And this study, the study of the socioeconomic impact of the Israeli closure of or forbidding the West Bank workers from working in the Israeli economy after October 7th is one aspect of that we are interested in, and we have been working towards for or the interest area is workers' rights, to be honest. And this is one of the areas that we were able to capture before the end of 2023 as a result of the situation. So this research, actually, you're the first group that got to see it in its English format. We finished it in December, 31st of December, actually, was the discussion for the workshop in the Arabic version. And then we sent it for translation, and just a couple of days ago, it was ready. Today, we disseminated it and started exposing more the impact of this research. Just to give also a brief on the work that we have done in the past couple of months. In the past couple of months, we published a paper, a fact sheet on workers' rights from Gaza, the ones that were working also on the Israeli economy before the 7th of October. And this actually created a massive impact on workers that were overnight found themselves as an illegal and illegal because their permits were rescinded on the 7th of October. So while there were around 17,000 workers from Gaza, and they were treated as criminals, as a danger, although they have been working legally in the Israeli economy. And after this, we decided to do one on the West Bank workers, which is the one that you see now. This study, I sent it to Omar. I hope he disseminated also it for you. And you can find all of the studies on our website. I'll share it in the chat later on. So this study, we employed a participatory community approach, where we first used the following research tool. We looked at formal studies. We did work on statistics. This one. Sorry for that. And the house, so the kids of my barge in sometimes. So we took the look on the former studies on this topic and matter. We found that most of the studies have focused on the macroeconomic effects. So when we're saying macroeconomics, we're talking about the Palestinian GDP, we're talking about industry level impact. Very little studies have been done on the socioeconomic impact on workers and their work on, in the Israeli economy. And when we say the Israeli economy, we are talking both about workers in proper Israel, which is Israel inside the Green Line, which is Israel lands that they established the state on, the state of Israel back in 1948, or also Israeli settlements in the West Bank. This is the second aspect of it. For various reasons, the Palestinian Authority and its official research institutions have outlawed work for Palestinian workers in the Israeli settlements, but it's a fact of life that these workers, there's a huge proportion of them, around 30,000 workers, that are working in the Israeli settlements in the West Bank. For the methodology, we looked at the PCBS for statistics and surveys. What have they done? The labor force survey results and data from that. We also decided to have a participatory community approach to work through interviews and focus group discussions. We had 3 focus groups of around 50 participants. One focus group was with 16 women from Tulkarem that worked in the Israeli economy. A second focus group was also in Tulkarem for workers in the Israeli economy, some in settlements, others in inside Israel. And the third focus group was done in Ramallah, where we tried to see what was also the impact on their lives. After the focus groups, we did a number of interviews with workers, with the Palestinian Ministry of Labor, with the Ministry of National Economy, and with the Palestinian Monetary Authority. Those are 3 parts. And the research adopted a human rights-based approach. So we looked at the UN conventions and national legislations, especially on the protection aspects of workers. And we looked at it in both directions. The UN conventions, of course, for the Israeli government and laws and the Palestinian Authority, and then also at national legislations, how the Israeli labor law differentiates against Palestinian workers, which is a special case, I think, of migrant workers in the global context. Just to give a brief example on the historic context, Israel has encouraged Palestinian workers or Palestinian farmers since the occupation of the West Bank and Gaza since 1967 to leave their lands and go and work as daily wage workers, laborers in the Israeli economy. This had a number of factors contributing to it. Some of them were pulling factors, others were pushing factors. The pulling factors into work into Israel was the higher wages, better working conditions. The pushing out factors for the Palestinian economy, because most of the Palestinian workers, around 45% of the labor force, were employed in agriculture on the eve of 1967. The pushing out factors was the various Israeli laws that basically made it very difficult to access water, because drilling for underground water, which was allowed during the Jordanian period in the West Bank, was outlawed by Israel. Other than that, also Israel, one of the first actions that they did, that they closed the agricultural lending bank, which used to give, it was a Jordanian government initiative, which used to give farmers, what do you call it, loans in favorable terms and with lower interest rates. So they cut off the access to finance for farmers. They cut off the access to water. And the third thing that they did after it was also cutting off the trade between the West Bank and Jordan, and literally cutting off the external export abilities. So everything had to do through the Israeli permits. And the Israeli permits actually weren't given to a lot of farmers. They were only given based on the interests of the Israelis. So they pushed out farmers from their lands, and they encouraged them to be employed as daily wage laborers in the Israeli economy. After the establishment of the Palestinian Authority in 1994, Israel introduced a permit system. And the permit system actually started to cut off whenever they wanted the daily wage workers from the Israeli economy, and their ratios have differed throughout the years, from as low as 5 to 10%, 5% and lower. And sometimes before, on the eve of October 7th, it was around 25% of the labor force in the West Bank were employed in the Israeli economy. Actually, there were around 200,000 daily wage workers in the Israeli economy that are from the West Bank, and another around 18,500 from the Gaza Strip. So, just to give a context for this, Israel worked on increasing the dependency of the Palestinians on the Israeli economy, where Palestinians, daily wage workers, used to go and work for the first couple of years without any rights at all. And then the issue of workers' rights became, since 1971, there was an office that registered that Palestinian workers that came, but also did not give them the full benefits of working in the Israeli economy. And this continued until 1994. And then there was actually a two-tier system, where there were the workers that went with official permits. They had some rights under Israeli laws, like getting, for example, end of service, getting benefits regarding, for example, health insurance at the workplace, accident insurance, not full health insurance, because they do not benefit from it. While there were, on the other hand, a lot of workers that were officially not allowed to work in the Israeli economy, but also unofficially, it was, or unstated, it was official policy, let us say that was encouraged for workers to go illegally into Israel. Actually, there are so many, or there were before October 7th, so many areas around the West Bank where, even in the apartheid wall, where there were holes, entrances, small trenches, whatever, where it was known for that Palestinian workers used to go through them, that they didn't have permits, and go into and work in the Israeli economy. Okay. So Israeli occupation, actually, if we want to see of key common impacts of the Israeli occupation, this is for policy because of the war of Gaza and closure of the West Bank. we had 41.5% of businesses noted a decline in the total number of workers that were able, compared to in November 2023, compared to before the attack on the Gaza Strip. The average decline number of workers reached 61.8%. So this is the businesses in the West Bank. So 57.1% of businesses noted a decline of monthly working days compared to work before the attack on the Gaza Strip, with an average decline of 42%. 43.2% of businesses noted a decline in the daily working hours compared to before the attack on the Gaza Strip, with an average decline of 47.2%. So overall, even the businesses in the West Bank suffered deeply because of the Israeli closure. And this has a two-tier effect. The first aspect of it was because 1/4 of the workforce was suddenly without any salaries, without any income. And this, of course, affected the macroeconomic aspect in the West Bank of businesses' ability to, or business, not ability, businesses' number of customers, their purchasing power parity, all of that, it was affected. A second aspect of it, the Israeli incursions and closures on the West Bank that started in October and continue until today, affected trade between governorates, different governorates, and affected businesses in general. So just to give you a short example of this, we have around 50,000 university students in the West Bank. And universities, most of them have moved into, and I'm saying most, the vast majority of them, I only know of 2 universities that are still teaching face-to-face, have moved to a system of remote education. This system of remote education, when we're saying that, we're talking about that the transport, for example, the workers in the transport sector that are connected to the areas of the universities are not working. The workers in food services, in housing, etc., all of those have faced unemployment because of this. So overall, the disruption, this is an example we said, as well as the disruption of school education, irregular payment of civil servant salaries. This is also caused part of the crisis that we have, because the PA, the Palestinian Authority, is dependent on what do you call it, on the money transfers that Israel corrects for the Palestinian, on the Palestinians, on the goods that Palestinians import from abroad, which is the value-added tax. So the value-added tax, because the Palestinian Authority doesn't have control over any of the borders, all of the borders are controlled by Israel. So the value-added tax is actually controlled by Israel. And Israel decided to punish the Palestinian Authority and not permit it to receive the value-added tax. And then they decided that they would transfer it without Gaza's share, and the PA refused to accept it. So now basically we have the government not able to pay full salaries for its employees. So the economic and social impact of West Bank workers' release from work in the Israeli economy and coping mechanism, the transfer of workers' salaries and wages to banks. There was a decision that was made by the Israeli occupation that Palestinian workers that are working in the Israeli economy, quote unquote, legally, in order to combat anti-terrorism financing, money laundering, all of that, they cannot be paid in cash, and they should be paid through banks. So there was an entire process that was enforced by the Israelis, and then it was enforced, also encouraged and enforced by the PA, because the PA thought that this will improve the situation of the Palestinian banking sector and improve the financial position of overall of the Palestinian Authority, to make workers get their money transferred to the banks. When the workers' salary started to to be deposited in banks. Banks decided to give workers financial packages like loans, checking books, all of that. And this actually caused a major issue for the workers because a lot of the workers have already taken loans or have written checks for several months because of they were doing different projects, building houses, opening up a small business in the West Bank, all of that. So they had a lot of financial loans on them, financial responsibilities. And these financial responsibilities depended on the fact that they had a fixed monthly salary that they used to receive from their work in the Israeli economy. And this was cut overnight. So these workers were now faced that not only they were jobless, but also they were facing debts that they had no idea they would face this kind of situation. Although, if you think about it historically, in a historical sense, Israel has always used leveraged work against or permits to work in the Israeli economy against its security concerns. So whenever its security concerns increased, it would take a policy of collective punishment against the Palestinians. So the second thing is that these workers, because now they were unemployed, okay, people might say, why didn't they work in the Palestinian economy? The Palestinian economy, I will try to be short, complete it in 5-6 minutes also, in order to open up a space for discussion. The shrinking, so why didn't they go and work in the Palestinian economy? In the Gaza Strip, the economic activity stopped with the genocide that's happening. In the West Bank, the Israeli cut off of external trade, the Israeli cut off of the West Bank governorates, isolating it through the various 500 plus checkpoints that are spread across the West Bank. The Israeli settler attacks have also crippled the Palestinian economy in the West Bank. So we are talking about that the local employment has also increased. And the third aspect was the unpreparedness of the workers for such a crisis. This unpreparedness of workers, workers actually thought that the situation was going to last for months. They didn't think that any disruption like this might happen. So they some of them went on luxury spending, such as vehicles, broadening and making, for example, luxurious houses. Others decided to do some investments here and there, opening up a small shop, building multi-story buildings. All of those workers actually now face debt. The last aspect is the difference, which was a pulling factor in the Israeli economy. We should understand this, that the difference in wages is a lot. The average daily wage for unskilled labor or for laborers in the West Bank is 115 shekels, which is the equivalent $31.2 compared to 269 shekels in the Israeli economy, which is equivalent to $72. So it's twice as high. And for those that are skilled, it gets much more than that. And the last aspect that also contributed in the workers' inability to cope is the lack of social security law. Despite the importance of the social security law, the social security law, we still don't have one. And this has to do with many reasons. The most important one is that Palestinians do not trust the Palestinian Authority to manage their money. So workers, especially women workers, reported that they did not receive any kind of assistance. Actually, when we talked with the 3 duty bearers from the government, the Ministry of National Economy, the Ministry of Labor, and the Palestinian Monetary Authority, they basically left workers to to their own. They did not have any specific measure or policy to mitigate the impact. Actually, after we did the study, on the day that we first discussed it in Arabic, the Palestinian Monetary Authority decided to relieve the workers of the fines from having return checks for the months of November and December. And this policy did not continue after December. So we are still talking about the situation of workers is getting bad and is going to worse. So the recommendations that we have, the most important recommendation is that the current dysfunction in the Palestinian economy, including the issues of workers in the Israeli economy, cannot be solved unless it is disengaged from the Israeli economy, particularly with the accumulating deformities in the Palestinian economy throughout years of occupation and the restrictions placed by the Paris Economic Protocol on Palestinian economy, as well as allowing Israel to control the majority of Palestinian revenues through import tax returns. This requires working within a national plan for economic disengagement from the occupation, rejecting the Paris Protocol and its restrictions, and promoting national economy of resilience, through the development of local industries and returning to the agricultural sector through a national plan that engages all sectors. The government needs to launch an incentivizing package for local economy at the macroeconomic level, through which job opportunities will be created to workers released from their jobs in accordance with a comprehensive practical plan and by investing available resources and rearranging public spending priorities to support this plan at the national level. One indication that the potential of agriculture we see in the percentage rise in agriculture whenever the Israeli economy closes. So we have an increase from 70% to around 9.5%, 10% just in a couple of months, just in a 1 month period. So when we're saying that the agricultural sector has potential to absorb a lot of the employment in the Israeli economy, this is correct, but this has to be done in a national development and disengagement plan. It is imperative to accelerate community dialogue on the social security law for its adoption, as it guarantees the provision of social protection to workers in Palestine. It is also necessary to promote confidence in the body overseeing the fund. Just on the issue of social security, the Israeli Jewish workers are protected by the Israeli Social Security law, and this Social Security law does not extend to Palestinian workers that have permits to work in the Israeli economy. So they do not have unemployment benefits, they do not have health insurance benefits, they do not have retirement benefits. And this is part of the apartheid system, the part of the racism. And one way to tackle this is having a Palestinian Social Security law and institution. Labor unions must assume the responsibility in defending workers and their rights, and they must work with all bodies to provide them social, economic, and legal protection. Part of the, I would say, part of the blackmail that workers were subjected to, that they were contacted by lawyers, Israeli lawyers, and they were bargained with because some of them have savings in the Israeli businesses, and they were blackmailed into that the lawyers would take a huge percentage of these savings in order to transfer the rest of the savings for the workers. And of course, this is part of the cycle, the vicious cycle of colonialism and capitalism. The PMA must issue decisions that contribute to the protection of workers in Israel and provide Palestinian workers in Israel, of course, and provide banking facilitations such as deferring loan payments without interest, accepting bound checks from fees, and the negative credit score, as well as other procedures. When we're saying other procedures, we are talking about a forgiveness period. We are talking about rescheduling of loans. And these kinds of procedures, the PMA took back in the COVID crisis. So this is also possible. The PMA, of course, has a fund that encourages small employment, but this is still not accessible for these workers or for the public in general, as there are several what do you call it, obstacles that we identified in the studies, not all the time. And the Ministry of Labor must support workers in order for them to obtain their entitlements from Israeli employers and Israeli investment firms. Awareness raising brochures must be issued in this regard, and social media websites can be utilized to raising awareness on labor rights. The government must instruct local governments and essential service providers such as water, electricity, and telecommunications to facilitate payments for workers released from work, particularly since such services are considered fundamental. So we would see, for example, that the schools were switched into online mode, and telecommunications companies would cut off the internet access for families just because they didn't pay one bill for the internet. So it was actually a vicious cycle of poverty and ignorance. The promotion of national industries, opening Arab markets, and other specific recommendations are part of the study. And overall theme of these recommendations is to we need to disengage the Palestinian economy from the Israeli control and integrate more in the Arab region as it offers more stable employment and access to markets. So I'm open for any discussion, questions, critique. Of course, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ubay. Just for the clarity, so Israel has labor laws, and these labor laws apply for Israeli citizens, correct?
Yes.
Regardless of they are inside Israel, if they are whatever.
Jewish or not Jewish or Arab.
Yes, and I think they almost applied the same are for East Jerusalem.
Yes, they apply the same for East Jerusalem. In this sense, the people with residency, they have the same labor laws.
And also the people, I mean, there is a very big market for international laborers who work inside Israel, whether expatriates, a big portion of the health sector, like the people who come from Asian countries to help out, and they have they have also the same law applies to them. Only Palestinians from the West Bank and Gaza, of course, they have different legal system.
Yes, this is correct.
Yes.
So, for example, the workers from Palestinian, with the Palestinian IDs from the West Bank and Gaza, when they are employed in the Israeli economy, they are deducted, they pay for health insurance, they pay for social security, all of those are deducted from them, but they almost receive no benefits from all of these, just minimal benefits that are related to work accidents, and some benefits relating to not retirement, but to having a sort of one end of service payment. But it's not like the retirement system that their Israeli counterparts enjoy. Although they pay the same for it.
Many of the workers from Gaza, around 18,000, as you've mentioned, that were working inside with Israeli businesses. When did Israel start permitting the business for people from Gaza to come and start working inside Israel?
Oh, look, the issue of workers from Gaza inside Israeli economy was historic also. It was started also back in 1967, historically. But it stopped with the second intifada. It stopped in the year 2000. And after the situation around 2003, 2004 started to relax again, they allowed more workers in from Gaza. And then after after Hamas took control of Gaza in 2007-8, they stopped that completely. And this continued until 2017, almost 2018, where they started allowing first small batches of workers back. but it wasn't really a huge number. It was at its peak around 18,500 workers from Gaza. Most of them worked in the areas surrounding, in the settlements surrounding Gaza.
But also Israel has stopped the export of very major businesses in Gaza, whether it's the flower business and so many things. Um,
Look, yeah, Israel has destroyed the Palestinian economy to entrench its dependency on the Israeli economy. And what they did is they control all the borders, they control all of the exits. So they decided to stifle the Gaza economy. There's actually a very famous picture when Gazans used to plant flowers, tulips, and export it to the Netherlands. And after the Israeli closed the borders and closed everything, they started to feed those tulips to the cattle and sheep that they have. So they would be drinking what we call it, scented milk in Gaza. And this was devastating. So it was systematic. And you can see this genocidal policies even today when they targeted the businesses, the infrastructure. So basically, they don't want any Palestinian self-reliance in any aspect.
I was also reading reports that many of the Palestinian workers inside Gaza, because many of them would stay for months without going home to Gaza because of the work, and they
Yeah.
were saving their salaries because they were not able to deposit them in banks. And many have reported that the army has stolen, or the police have stolen, or confiscated their savings.
Well, they stole their savings, they stole their salaries, and this is correct that Palestinian workers, especially from Gaza, because the entry and exit from Gaza is very hard and complex. So they do not cross every day, and it was over 7th of October happened over Jewish holidays. So the Israelis actually or the Gaza workers actually had stayed for a long weekend. We have documented in the study, I will send it to you now. I'll put the link in the chat for those interested in the fact sheet that we prepared on Gaza, a detailed report on what's happened to Gaza. And many workers from Gaza are still unaccounted for. Until now, we are following up on this case. We have accounted for around 12,000 workers of the 17,000 that used to be in Israel on the October 7th. So we have 5,000 workers unaccounted for up until today. Some of them have hidden with their employers because they have been working with the same employer for years. Others are hiding with relatives or in the West Bank or relatives, Palestinian families, because, you know, we're one community that was disengaged or disconnected because of the colonialism and the colonial policies and apartheid policies of Israel. So we have, for example, people hiding all over the West Bank and hiding with Palestinian families, and some of them are still hiding with their small employers, so and continuing their work.
The Israeli economy is suffering also very hard because they rely heavily on Palestinian workers. And recently, there has been in the news that that Israel is importing workers from different countries, even some from the Arab countries, like Emirates, to come and take care, especially of the fields within the farming. Is there any reports on the recent flows of workers coming from different parts of the world to Israel?
Well, we know that Israel is trying to import Thai workers from Thailand, India, Pakistan, other countries, of course. No, Pakistan, not. Sri Lanka and other countries, and Philippines. I hear that they have problems also in this regard, and how many workers are willing to come, the accustomedness and the preparedness of foreign workers to work in the Israeli economy, the nature of the spending, because in the end, 85% of the imports of Palestinians are coming through Israel. So the money that they are giving us are going back in the Israeli economy when we purchase stuff, etc. This, of course, does not apply with Thai workers or Indian workers because they send a lot of their salaries back home for their families. So there are a lot of complications on this issue. The Israeli far right has always wanted to stop the engagement with us on the economic level or having Palestinian workers. The Israeli industrial sectors always wanted more Palestinian workers, cheap labor, and they do not stay overnight in Israel. They, from the West Bank, they go back to their families. There's Ted that he's raised his hand for a while. I don't know if you noticed.
Yeah, I did, but we're keeping it. We're trying just to address the questions in the chat first.
Okay.
So please forgive us, Ted. So is there a difference between the salary scale for Palestinians and Israeli workers working in settlements and working inside Israel? Is
Oh,
there
of course.
discrimination in pay? Yeah.
Of course, of course. Palestinians, if they work without a permit, they are basically illegal workers. So the Israeli police, guards, army in general know of these workers, know that they cross each day, and know that they come and work in these establishments, but look the other way. And they, what do you call it? They like act as they are doing a favor for the Palestinian worker. The Palestinian would go and work and get paid sub-minimum wages with the Israeli economy. So the Israeli economy, for example, the minimum monthly wage is around, I think, 5,900 today, 6,000 Omar, something like that. But for Baba عندي ثوم حبيبي. But for the Israeli, for the Palestinian going there, he would be working for 150, 200 shekels. There are cases in agricultural settlements, especially in the Jordan Valley, where Palestinians would be paid even less than that. There are stories of women that we documented that are getting paid as low as 50 shekels per day, and the rest of it is going to what do you call it? The middlemen that bring the workers to the settlements for work.
Yes, and I mean it's actually we were last Friday we had a meeting in Jerusalem, and many people were speaking about the corruption in the permit system, that that Palestinian workers are actually trying to get loans so that they can pay bribes so that they are allowed to have working permits issued.
Yeah.
So it's a very corrupt system, very bad system. It's a rotten system. I mean,
it's a colonial system, Omar.
a colonial system.
Yeah.
There's so much injustice, and definitely women, especially rural women, pay the highest price for this. Ubay, as part of Sabil Kumi meetings, we meet every week and we do actions. So we each week we have an action that we do, like some kind of advocacy. Starting with the people who are on the call, and people, then we send it out to the bigger network on Kumi. So because of the time limitation, I just want to thank you on behalf of everyone. You're welcome to stay with us while we do the action. It doesn't take long. I'll hand it over to our friends Lily and others who are part of the Kumi committee. But Ubay, on behalf of everyone, I want to thank you and keep up the good work, and hope we stay connected, inshallah.
Oh, thank you, Omar, and thank you all. I would love to hear about the action, so I'll just mute myself.
Yes, please.
Listen now.
Please, Lily.
Yeah, my name is Lily. I am involved with Sabil. Thank you, Ubay, for that presentation. And I just want to reiterate and encourage everyone to take a look at the reports that he shared after this call today. We are gonna do our regional breakout rooms again based on the actions that we have from the newsletter this week. And so I have a few people to help us with this. Mary Claire is going to explain the Canada action again in the Canada breakout room. I will do the US. And then Carla is going to help us with the UK. And then Omar, I'll have you stay with the worldwide, or people, if you're not from these regions, can stay and discuss this action. So I'm gonna open them at this time, and you should be able to select the room that you can join, and then we'll go through the actions there.
Could you just mention again the rooms, how they are divided, Lily?
Yeah, so we have a UK breakout room, a Canada breakout room, a US breakout room, and then a worldwide breakout room, which actually, if you're not in US, UK, or Canada, you can stay in the main room with Omar to discuss the worldwide action. So Omar, I'll leave you here to join the US room. Okay, I think we're all back now. Sorry if anyone got cut off while you were still discussing or completing your actions. And for those of you who share that it's easier to complete them after the call, we would invite you to do that. But again, thank you all for joining Kumi tonight to hear the presentation. Do follow up with the reports from Ubai. And Omar, is there anything final you'd like to say?
No, just want to thank everyone for being with us and for doing the actions. Thank you so much.
Good. Yeah, I think that concludes Kumi this evening. Keep doing your actions and keep advocating. Thank you all for being with us.
Thank you all. Thank you.